bit about who I am, since that's the
Sure.
format we're doing. Doing a little bit about myself. For you guys, I'm Sean Hale. I was born in Louisiana, raised in Idaho, oldest of 4 kids. My dad was a professor, and my mom ran a large nonprofit daycare center. And by large, I mean like 150 kids at its highest point. In terms of my education, I went to Bellarmine University in Louisville, Kentucky, got a history degree and a Spanish degree. And then I went to the University of Texas, where I got a master's in Latin American studies. And I've been here in Austin for more than 20 years now. Moving on to my career, my first grown-up job, nonprofit job, because my whole career has been in nonprofits, was working with an organization called EcoViva, doing sustainable development in Central America. It's founded by a charismatic former priest from El Salvador, run out of the side of his garage when I got there, and I started while I was still in grad school. I got to build up the back office from the ground up. And so, like, to give you a sense of what a difference of having a strong back office can make, before I got there, so in 1999, before I got there were some big hurricanes that hit Central America. The organization was able to raise about $200,000. 2 years later, when I was there full time, some earthquakes hit El Salvador, and our fundraising capacity went up 5 times. So that, for me, also that job, I got to wear all the hats for an organization, but I really learned that the administrative back office finance thing was the thing that where I felt like I was able to contribute the most. And yeah, so then I moved on to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Austin, where I rebuilt their back office, rebuilt the chart of accounts, rebuilt the governance model. Well, I worked with a group to help rebuild the governance model, because it turns out that governance in an organization can make a big difference also. So I got to get into the nitty-gritty on that. And the organization went from being on the brink of, the brink of no return, to now being a flourishing community. After that, I went on to Ubuntu Life, which is another organization run by a charismatic former priest. It's a nonprofit technically, but really does a lot of social entrepreneurship in Kenya. So it's also a lifestyle brand while also doing nonprofit work. I was able to bring in financial rigor, transparency, and break a broken relationship that existed between staff and the finance function. And then my last job before becoming an independent consultant 2 years ago was at Mission Capital, where I served for 4 years as the Chief Financial and Operations Officer. Mission Capital is the capacity building organization for nonprofits here in Central Texas. Has a bunch of programs, including Social Venture Partners, which is one that I think some of you could be familiar with. And one of the things that I'm proud of there was that I was able to bring transparency to the financial reporting. Moving on to the next phase of my life, the entrepreneurial phase. And like even in high school, maybe even junior high, I was self-publishing comic books. And then 5 years ago, I tried to launch a little business doing humorous t-shirts and such. That didn't work out, but it was certainly a good experience. And then 2 years ago, I launched Sean Hale Consulting as a fully independent, full-time kind of entrepreneur gig. And it was full-time until the pandemic hit 10 weeks later. But I've been ramping it up the whole time, and have a team of 6 now, and anticipate adding between 2 and 4 more people in Q1 next year. And what we do is we serve small and mid-sized nonprofits, helping them build strong back office functions. So fractional CFO services, interim coverage, administrative diagnostics, special projects, that sort of thing. I also, during the pandemic, when I wasn't doing Sean Hale Consulting or taking care of our 5 and 11-year-old, with a friend, created Sean Social Enterprises. His name is also Sean. And that was another vehicle for us to collaborate on a variety of projects that didn't fit exactly within either of the brands that we each have independently. And so one of the things that we launched was Philanthroforce, which is an online directory to help nonprofits find the right consultant. We have more than 300 consultants listed there now across more than 60 specialties. I think this is the almost last biographical slide. My family, my wife, Diana, she's from Costa Rica. She has 5 university degrees, so definitely more learned than I am. And she by day is a librarian. Our daughter Daniela is now 13. She's the creative one in the family, and she's currently going through a Tejana phase. So she has the cowboy boots and all the other good stuff. And then Santiago, our 7-year-old, he's our athlete, and definitely more of an athlete than I ever was. He's into soccer, bicycling, skateboarding, all that good stuff. And for fun, every so once in a while, I'm able to go and pick up my guitar, and I've been playing for more than 30 years now. So there's some rock, there's some jazz, there's some folk, there's a bunch of other stuff. And back in the good old days, I used to even play in bands. And when I'm not doing that, board games, strategy games, card games. If anybody on here likes Risk a whole lot and would like to play some online Risk, message me and I'll hook you up. So I'm supposed to tell a story. All right, is everybody ready for a little story time? What I want to share with you is just some lessons that I've learned over my experience. Part of it's out of my career experience, but part of it's also in my consulting and kind of fractional CFO experience. And one of the big lessons that I've learned is to speak the client's language, right? And so that means adapting to the organizational culture. And not that we take it all in and like it's all hunky dory, but there's adaptation certainly. And it means understanding that most of the people that we interact with, they are not finance professionals. They're not finance professionals, so they're not going to speak kind of our native accounting language. And so that's really important to keep into account. Another thing that's been helpful for me to learn is that everybody has a different superpower in the organization. And so this next story is basically taken directly from a presentation that I do for nonprofits to show how I've adapted some of my language, and maybe there's a little tip or something in there for some of you in terms of how to explain and lay things out in a way that even though most of us here on the call, we are going to get it like that and it doesn't need explanation, how to translate it into that language for the folks who are not financially, who are not hardwired like you and I, or at least most of us on the call I expect are. And really it's understanding that everybody has a different superpower, that most people look at the sky and see a bunch of dots of light. They need our help to actually make constellations out of those, right? To see, oh, the Big Dipper, oh, Orion, that sort of thing. Because our superpower is connecting the dots financially. So here's the tip that I give in presentations to nonprofits, and it is time is money, folks. Time is money. And I am not suggesting that you introduce a stopwatch to your office at your nonprofit, right? You know, that you bring in time cards, or that you micromanage your staff. These are usually not part of the secret sauce at a nonprofit. Instead, what I want you to think about is making sure that everybody is using their time wisely. Let me give you a little case in point. Who here has ever seen a nonprofit where the computers are held together with duct tape and a prayer? Or they've seen a nonprofit where the only software they use is cheap or super free, or where everybody has to train themselves how to use the software. So most of the staff, they muddle along rather than ever mastering it. Or who's ever seen a nonprofit where there are dozens of different systems, even when integrated systems exist, that provide the same functions? Or who's seen a nonprofit with DIY tech support? So that is, sadly, happens all too often in our nonprofits, but it has a solution, and actually an easy solution. It's something that I've been able to tackle before. And in fact, once upon a time, I was serving a great nonprofit with smart, dedicated staff, a blue ribbon board, community respect, and a big impact. But all the computers that they had, they were laptops that they had received secondhand from a grant maker. The grant maker said, you know, this equipment, it's not good enough for our staff anymore, but hey, nonprofit, would you like it for your staff? And so of course the nonprofit said, oh yes, please, of course. So by the time I got there, these computers, these secondhand computers, had already run 3, 4, 5 years with the organization. And so many of them wouldn't hold a charge. They needed a lot of tech support. They were slow. They need a lot of rebooting. And PS folks, you give equipment like that to your staff, and that can create morale problems because it sends them a message about how you value their time and how you think that they should use their time. So the first time around, I went into the CEO and I said, hey, dude, this is happening and this is so obviously wrong. And I thought, you know, hey, this CEO, he's smart. He knows business. This shouldn't be more than like a 2-minute conversation, and we can get the ball rolling on getting new equipment for people. But it turns out that just telling this is obviously terrible did not do the trick. It just, I wasn't able to connect the dots for him in that way. And so I went back to my desk, and took a little bit of time and figured out how to reboot my approach and actually connect the dots for him instead of just pointing into the sky and expecting him to see the constellation. And I was able to go back a few days later and help him connect the dots and help him see that even with conservative estimates and laying out some simple formulas, with conservative estimates, the organization was losing $1,500 every year with every employee in lost productivity. So $1,500 here compared to about $650 each for new laptops. And so all of a sudden he was able to see, wow, that's going to pay for itself. These laptops are going to last 2 to 5 years. And we're only, we're getting our money back within 6 months, and it's better for morale. And so folks, many nonprofits fall into this trap because we are told that we are expected to martyr ourselves and that we're expected to save ourselves. But we really need to think about whether or not the problems that we are, think we're fixing, or the savings that we think we're getting, are really going to save money if they're truly frugal or they're cheap, because there are situations like this that pay for themselves very, very quickly. So there you have it, folks. That's my presentation. Thanks, Jeff.
Sean, thank you. That was really good. So there's a bunch of new faces here. So I'm just gonna, John, before we get to you, I'm just gonna make a couple comments so everybody can get oriented around what just happened. So one of the things that we want to do in here is get to know everybody that's here in this event. And anybody else that's part of this group. There's a bunch of other people that aren't here right now. And so we have and the reason for it is because one of the things you got to learn as a fractional CFO, and it goes along with some of what Sean was saying, people don't want to do business. They want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so this is going to give us all an opportunity to explain to a bunch of people who we are. We get to know and like and trust you. Everybody kind of knows Sean now, right? All of a sudden he's a different person. He's not just a box on the screen. He's a guitar player, and I've always wanted to be a guitar player. I kept trying, and I've been playing for 20 years, but I've played probably a total of 20 hours in those 20 years. So I don't get very far with it when I pick it up. So I always admire people that can do it. So now, I have this thing that I think is really cool about Sean. And we all, so then the story part is for him to pass on to us. We talk about CPE credits. I have this thing, and you guys probably have heard this before, but I like to get OPE credits, other people's experiences. And that's what we're doing right now. We're learning something from Sean. From time to time, we all may come up on a nonprofit, and we're starting to learn a little bit more about what's behind nonprofits. And also now, if one of you guys gets a client that's a nonprofit client, and you've never done it before, I would strongly recommend that you talk to Sean and pick his brain a little bit, and he can do vice versa. So this is a completely information sharing type thing. Okay, so that's the first part that we just did. Now we're going to hear from, where'd he go? There he is, from John Finnegan. And what we're going to be doing at every meeting is we're going to be hearing from one person in the group, and we're going to be hearing from somebody from the outside of the group. And what John's going to do is he's going to tell you what he does. First, he's going to go, just like Sean, he's going to get you to know, like, and trust him. And then he's going to talk about what he does. But the real key is, why do you want to know John? As a fractional CFO, why do you want to know John? And he's going to tell you that. And so we're going to be talking to people that are teachers, that are marketing partners, that are, they supply us with resources. They potentially could be a resource to our customers. For example, I don't do I do a lot of work with people that have QuickBooks, but I don't do accounting for them. I don't do the bookkeeping side. But once you get to know Dominic, you're going to find out that a big part of what he does is QuickBooks for clients on a fractional basis. And so, you know, these are the kind of things that we want to learn from each other and know, and where are our resources and how does this whole thing fit together. Hang on, I got somebody coming in. Okay, so we are going to hear from John now. This is kind of an experiment today because this is our first outside speaker resource like we're having with John. So I'm going to turn it over to John and we're going to get to know, like, and trust him. So John, you're on.
Thank you, Jeff. Nice to meet you all. I will make an attempt to stop regularly and pause so that if you guys have any questions, I want to make sure that I'm answering your questions along the way. In part, Jeff asked me to participate, I'm sure, because today I have a business. It happens to have a name called Focus Cloud, but it is a private peer advisory group for CEOs. And I'd like to share with you how I got here. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, at the end of an era. When I was in college from 1970 to 1974, my summer job was working at Jones and Laughlin Steel. I literally worked in the steel mills, in the basic oxygen furnace, in the 80-inch, in the electrics. It was dangerous work. And it was, you know, my dad worked in that world. He sold industrial safety equipment to those steel mills and factories during that period of time. And it was just before that all left the United States and went overseas. When I graduated from Kent State with a degree in marketing, the job that made most sense for me was becoming a representative for IBM. And I had, by the way, two sisters. I grew up with two sisters and a stay-at-home mom. And getting that job with IBM in their office products division was a dream job because I was pretty worthless to the world at that point in time. But they provided such great training. It was like going to work for Google or Apple or Microsoft today. And during that 13-year period of time, I had an opportunity to work for literally every division of IBM, from typewriters to mainframes. And in a single slide, I can show you what that looks like. So, whoops, let me, I guess I don't know what your screen shows, but so I began with IBM, and then I had a 3-year period where I was hired by an independent distributor, and I watched them grow a business from 0 to $300 million, which was acquired by Storage Tech. And so I thought to myself quite naively, I can do that. But it's kind of like marriage, you know, you have no idea when you're walking down that aisle what that is like. And so I started a company called LDSI, or Laser Data Services, and we found ourselves, instead of selling hardware, services were really important in 1989 and 1990, and it only grew throughout that decade. I got to know a guy by the name of Ed McVaney, who was one of 3 founders of JD Edwards, a company that most of you will know. JD Edwards, you might recall, was acquired by PeopleSoft and then Oracle, where it lives today. And as that business grew, they needed ERP implementations around the world, and so we grew internationally. That business was acquired in 1994 by JD Edwards. And so I started another company called the Management Technology Group. And 18 months after starting that business, I got an offer from a division of SAIC. But something really critical happened during that time. After hiring 30 employees and 20 subcontractors, my youngest daughter, Megan, was diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia. Let me just share with you that that's a good news story today. She's a healthy 28-year-old working as a paralegal at one of the major law firms here in Denver. But I needed a way to channel my energy. Her mom was primary caregiver. I had a company to run, so I began volunteering for, serving on the board with, and later going on staff with the American Cancer Society. And unbelievably, Sean, I stayed 14 years with that nonprofit. So I got some of the same experiences that you got in that nonprofit world. In my case, I didn't realize how much I missed that entrepreneurial experience. And so I retired at normal retirement age, retiring as one of their vice presidents responsible for the plan giving business unit, and thought I was going to go back into information technology when a buddy of mine by the name of Doug Jackson, the CEO of Project Cure, recommended that I go to work for and become a chair for a company called Vistage. I went through their training, but by October of that year, it didn't feel comfortable to me for a variety of reasons. I have enormous respect for that organization, but I needed greater flexibility to do what I do today. And so I created my own organization. I mean, I had already created Focus Cloud, but I did a major pivot. And today I have a group of CEOs, and we meet on a monthly basis together, and we do so for 5 primary reasons. And those reasons are, number one, to make better business decisions. That is the most difficult thing that we as CEOs face, is how to make the best business decision and do so independently. The next is that if you're an entrepreneur, you're not held accountable by anyone. If you don't have a board of directors, if you haven't received funding from an outside source, accountability becomes an issue. The third is growth, both personal and professional growth. And then the next is isolation relief. You know, it's lonely at the top. That expression really means something. And finally, when you do make a decision, you've got to be able to implement it within your organization. Those are the kinds of things that we work on. So with that, let me pause for a moment and see if that stimulates any questions.
Yeah, John, this is Keith Gross.
Jump in, please.
So I have to jump off here in a couple minutes. What size companies the CEOs are in charge of, like revenue-wise?
The sweet spot is 5 million to 500 million in size.
Okay, any certain industry?
My group is non-competing industries, so they're all different. You can't have 2 competitors in the same room.
Okay. I'd love to connect with you offline then.
Would love to speak with you.
Okay, so you'll reach out to me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your help. Okay, any other questions? Let me check the chat here real quick. Okay, so in 1997, I sent myself back to school, and I did so on the advice of an HR manager. I had been sending my employees back to school because my employer, IBM, did so for me and paid for my master's degree back in the 1970s. But she said, you know, John, you need to continue with your education as well. And so I sent myself back to the Harvard Business School program known as OPM. And OPM, which stands for Owner, /president management program is really the advanced management program of 9 weeks divided into 3 weeks a year for 3 years. There were just under 100 people in my class, 70% of which were from outside the United States. The education was phenomenal, but getting to know those individuals was even more so important. And so we began meeting somewhere in the world every 18 to 24 months. So it might be Zurich, Switzerland in 2015. In 2017, it was 3 classmates, one in Muscat, Oman, one in Abu Dhabi, one in Dubai. And then the last reunion I attended was in 3 days in Hyderabad, 3 days in Mumbai and 2 days in Hyderabad. What I do too is I'm a member of the Denver Rotary Club, and I'm their chair of World Community Service. So either before or after those trips, I stop and visit programs that we've invested in. Water, sanitation, and hygiene is a hugely important program for Rotary internationally. So when I went to Delhi after the Hyderabad reunion, I went to a girls' school of 1,200 where we put in toilet blocks of 5 toilets for 1,200 girls who literally did not have toilet facilities beforehand. And the reason why that's so critically important, I ended up going to 5 different schools on that trip, is because once they reach menstruation, those girls are quitting schools. We change the entire village when we can build toilet facilities. So that's an important part of who I am and what I do. In addition, I continue to volunteer for the American Cancer Society Extramural Grants Department, a program that started in 1942, only distributes $140 million a year today, which is a spit in the ocean for cancer research. But 49 of those individuals have gone on to win the Nobel Prize. So I spend 2 months prior to every cycle reading grant applications, and I am a stakeholder representing you, a donor for that program, to ensure those dollars are well spent. I say this to you because I think it's critically important to us as leaders, and it's an important part of my life and what I do with my group of CEOs. Let me stop again and see, did that stimulate any questions for you? Okay. You know, as I watched Sean's presentation, I saw his words going across the screen, and the computer was capturing that information. And I want you to know, I love podcasts, and I know you do too. There is a David Pogue podcast that is called Unsung Science. And last week I listened to a program. I had no idea that out of accessibility comes tremendous innovation that we all benefit from. I encourage you to check it out next time you take a hike and you're ready for a podcast. It's really a well done podcast to listen to. Okay, Jeff, that's all I have for today.
Okay, so I want to, John, you and I, when we talked, I want to spend a little bit more time with you about why it's important for them to know you, people like you. You know, there's an obvious thing when you say it's a round table of CEOs, right? But what's even more important for that is what do they think? What do you and your CEOs think of like fractional CFOs? So, you know, I know you, I'm a fractional CFO. I would love for you to invite me to your meeting so I could pitch all of your guys, right? But that's obviously not going to happen. But how would you tell everybody here that, there's Vistage people out there, there's alternative board people out there, there's people like you that are doing it independently. Are we, like, if we get a relationship with you and I forgot who it was that was talking to you about connecting later on, he wants to talk to you about his business and how all your CEOs can use that business. So we need you to be as frank as you can about how we collaborate, I guess is maybe the best way to say it.
As you ask that question, Jeff, it takes me back to the time that I received the offer from SAIC when I had the management technology group, and it's now 1999. And I had a critical decision to make. My relationship with my CFO was critically important. I was deathly afraid of losing that guy. That was the most important relationship to me during that period of time. At the same time, John, who was my CFO then, was biased relative to the sale of that business. So that's the one thing I think that we need to discuss and be aware of. I have a private peer advisory group for that very reason, that the other people in the room aren't biased relative to, the other CEOs in the group. And so the CFO supporting me in 1999 had very much had a bias. And I think having open dialogue around that is critically important.
Yeah, that's good. So, so obviously, John is a wealth of knowledge about how CEOs think. And so, that's a good way to pick his brain and get behind some of that. Again, if you find a CEO and you're pitching that CEO and it's maybe not going the way you think it should be going, maybe talk to John, pull him in. Also, if, effectively, as a fractional CFO, a lot of you are independent, but, I know Dominic has a bunch of employees. So he's a CEO and a fractional CFO. And so, maybe you talk to John about, gee, what's it like to be in these peer advisory groups? And, is it any benefit to me? Is there a way, can I get some support from that? So it's those kind of things that, we want to introduce you to in this meeting. So, are there any comments and questions from there?
How do you guys reach out? How do you get new clients?
I'll answer that, John, because I have a question too. So my name's Anna. I'm based in Los Angeles. I have my own small fractional CFO practice. I use chambers of commerce, FANG, Provisors, a lot of different networking groups, and just pretty much talk about my business everywhere, and the clients sort of come to me. Question for you, though, about your peer advisory group. Is it a possibility that we connect you with one of our CEOs who might benefit? Is there a process for that, or is that something you'd be open to?
Yes, Anna, that would be great.
Okay.
Now, you're in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And under ideal circumstances, we want to be shoulder to shoulder in a room.
I see. Okay.
Now, yesterday, we were at the offices of one of my CEOs, happens to be, he has an organization called Elephant Learning Math Academy, and he's in a shared facility. It was phenomenal. And I was able to use one of the owls. You know what an owl is? The technology called an owl?
It's a
gadget.
Yeah.
It has multiple cameras and microphones.
Oh, yes,
on
yes.
it. So as So like you're speaking right now, the owl would point to you, Anna, and it would capture your voice for the recording. And I did so for there were a couple of people who couldn't make the meeting. So I have a YouTube channel, and I don't publish it, but I can provide them with the link for an unpublished recording, and then they can watch it. Like one of my members happens to be at her home in India right now. So now, understand, when I got into this business a couple of years ago, it was at the beginning of the pandemic. And so, all of us are just, we had to learn this technology. And so it's better, so that we're able to have this kind of a meeting. And those, you guys are from across the country right now, it works, but it lacks the intimacy of being in the same room. So, I don't think I could provide the same service
Got it.
to someone living in Los Angeles, and would encourage him or her to join a local group, quite
Got
honestly.
it. Yep, yep. Makes sense. Thank you.
The other thing that I wanted to share with you is that I began using a tool called Connected, spelled with a K, and it on LinkedIn, it goes out and sends a message to people randomly based on criteria that I put in the system. And I put in CEOs and presidents and co-founders and second degree connections. And my message goes out to you, Anna, and says, I'm a CEO in the area putting together an advisory group. And are you interested in learning more? You then look at my profile and make a decision based upon my education, my experience, and then you say, nah, I don't want to meet this guy, or yeah, I do. And then we set up a meeting. So I encourage you to look at that if you're not.
By the way, I don't know if John remembers this, but that's how he and I met.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
My speaker
He tried to
yesterday,
connect to me. I didn't try to connect to him. He didn't.
my speaker yesterday was a guy by the name of Bill Inman, who happens to be 76 years old, the father of data warehousing, lives here in Denver, is the author of 62 books on information technology. Totally by accident, I got to meet Jeff and Bill and wonderful people. It's a fabulous tool. So sometimes it's just pure fun, not just for business.
Yeah.
John, Dominic here. John, sorry, the name of that is Connected. Is that the name of the app?
Kennected, Dominic.
Connected. Gotcha.
Yeah. But Dominic, there are 100 tools just like it. And I think I spend $48 a month for that. And in the beginning, I had, the first one was, hey, do you want to meet? The second message was, hey, do you want to talk? And the third message was kind of a reminder. I just got away from all of that and just got right to the point. And I think that works much more effectively.
Yeah.
I get about 8 people a day saying, yes, I'd like to have a conversation. And so you've got to have Calendly at that point, because there's, I'm hiring an executive assistant now because I can't keep up with the volume.
Yeah, cool.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So Barb, is that what you used?
Actually, we use a tool called InTouch, which is a similar, it promotes those, I guess it uses LinkedIn in some manner to find people that fit in various demographics that you can specify. And then the goal would be to have a authentic conversation first via LinkedIn message. And then my team always, I come from software. So my team always defaults to getting face-to-face as much as we're able to with folks, because we think that just is more human in an era where that's maybe a little lacking, a little less than some of us would like in terms of socials and being.
By the way, just as another data point, that's how Barb and I met.
Yes.
Yes. Barb, yes. So both work. At least with me, they work.
I think
So-
In Touch is more expensive.
It-
If I could
oh,
just
is
put
it?
that out there. I think so.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Hey,
Yes,
so,
you know,
um,
the structure of our meeting is to have an outside speaker in the morning after we check in with each other, break for lunch and just have pure socialization from 12 to 1. And then the member who is hosting that day gives a 45-minute host presentation. And yesterday's host was Giannis Bergs, the president of North America for a company called SAF, headquartered in Riga, Latvia. And I got to meet him through a mutual friend at the University of Colorado. And we are going to be traveling. So our first trip at the end of July as a group will be 3 days in Riga, Latvia, visiting, you know, a former classmate and SAF, and Giannis's brother is the founder, and then 2 days in St. Petersburg. And so, in other words, I'm hitchhiking on the business school experience that I had, and I'm bringing that into my group because I think we tend to think too parochially that, you know, I get very narrow-minded, and international travel helps me broaden my perspective. And so I'd like to do an international trip for my groups once a year. And this will be trip number 1, 3 days in Riga, 2 days in St. Petersburg.
cool. All right, so John, Micus, you had your hand up before and I butted in and then I forgot to call on you.
Oh, no, it wasn't my hand. It was the clapping, the reaction
Oh.
on the bottom, because my camera was off. So I was trying to clap
Okay.
digitally, doing a
All
digital
right, got
clap.
it, got it. All right. So before we go too much further, I just wanted to introduce Marty Latman. You saw Matt Budd on there before. So Marty, so I was doing fractional CFO work. I'll tell you how I met Marty. I was doing fractional CFO work for a long time. And then around 2011, for whatever reason, I had no clients one day. I woke up and there were no more clients. They were gone. And so my wife said to me, Jeff, I think it's time for you to go get a real job. You know, she didn't really, she never has liked me doing this kind of work. And so a friend of mine, you know, I was on Long Island and Marty was in New Jersey. A friend of mine said, Jeff, you got to go see this Marty Latman. So I started looking for a job. And this is the first time in 10 years I was really looking for a job, a full-time W-2 job. You got to go meet Marty Latman. He's got this really great organization. So he was in charge of the New Jersey thing. And then, you know, then I got invited to his New Jersey Sang. I forgot what the SENG is, but Senior Executive Networking Group or some yeah, anyway. So I went and it was a fantastic meeting. All the meetings were great. You know, Marty is one of the best teachers of networking, and, you know, if you're trying to find a job, he's fantastic. So, you know, but it was a long trip. You guys don't know what it's like going across the George Washington Bridge from Long Island to New Jersey. It is not a good thing. So I called Marty and I said, Marty, can I steal your business model? You know, I didn't say it that way exactly, but that's what I was saying. And so I started the Long Island Sang, and it worked great. So I did it for 10 years, and you know, we ended up putting like 100 people through there a year, and it was really good. And so, you know, Marty kind of launched my career in helping people in transition. So, I'll let him talk, but he's been doing a lot of great.
Thanks, Jeff. You know, I appreciate it. Just want to let you know that Long Island Sang is still in operation.
Yeah.
And they're still running the deal.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what I do. I help people. I've been doing it for many years. I welcome all of you to you know, connect with me. during the COVID period, I was running a weekly session for the FANG, Learn from Latman, where we helped a lot of people with a lot of the techniques that they need to find their position. So it's good to see you again, Jeff. It's been a while. And I'm here, I'm open. I'm always looking to connect with different people. So let me help you.
Yeah, ABC, right, Marty?
You got it. ABC and ABP. Always be positive and prepared. Okay, opportunities happen every day.
Yep. And then Matt Budd is here. I noticed he turned off his camera. I don't know if he's still there. Matt, you there? No. All right. So the reason we're all here is because of Matt. You know, this all goes back to Matt. He started this many, many years ago. Marty's helped him keep it going strong. And so, you know, he's the reason. You know, it was kind of funny because I didn't even know about these sessions, these, you know, stop by my office sessions. And, you know, because, you know, like everybody else, I read the newsletter once in a while, but I don't filter. I like Matt's stories, but I never filtered through to the bottom. And this is where this was in the newsletter. And so I called up Matt one day and I said, Matt, I want to start a SIG, you know, the special interest group for, and it wasn't fractional CFOs at the time. It was financial planning and analysis. He goes, you can't do that. We don't want that. I'm like, oh, darn, now what do I do? He goes, but what you want is stop by my office. And so I was a little embarrassed because I didn't know what stop by my office was. And so I go, well, what is it? And he told me. And so that's how this became stop by my office. So anyway, so we have, you know, I have a hard stop at the hour, but you know, what I'd like to do, this group is really new. And so I'd like to go around, you know, and just have everybody comment on how we're doing so far. What would they like to see? I have all kinds of things that I want to do. As a matter of fact, I'm even thinking about potentially doing this, and I want to throw this out so you guys can comment on this. I'm thinking about maybe doing this twice a month. You know, to me, half of it is, you know, a big group like this is harder. If all 40 people had come in, it would have been a real problem. But you know, so anyway, so let's have some ideas. So let's see. I'm going to start with Dominic. Dominic, give us your thoughts. Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter.
No, this is great. Honestly, I appreciate the outside kind of perspective coming in, and the intimacy of talking about someone's personal perspective and getting to know people. I do belong to a couple other CFO groups, and it's more like everybody kind of gets together and just talks technology, and that's fun sometimes. But this is interesting because you feel a connection with people. So I do appreciate it, and I actually think that since COVID, if you can connect with people in a virtual environment, it's almost more of an opportunity because people are longing and craving for connection with people. And so when you make it personal, people remember it. People remember you, and I want a friend, and people want friends, and so I really appreciate taking the time to talk about who you are as a person, and it goes a long way. So I'm excited about this group just because of that alone, above some of my other groups. So I'm thankful for it.
All right, so if you're going to be around in January, you want to volunteer?
I will volunteer, not a problem.
All right, sounds good.
Jeff, I like it. Wrote me in, man. That was quick.
Yeah, I know. So Anna, what do you think?
I mean, I'll echo what Dominic just said. I love it. I mentioned that I do other, I guess, peer networking groups, and if any of you know me from the others, do not repeat this. Some of them I don't always look forward to the meetings. This one I look forward to. I mean, it's a great group of people, very open, very honest. I think, Jeff, what you are doing and trying to do is great because like John mentioned, I think there's isolation for us too, because a lot of us are running our own companies. So this is it's a great thing. I support wholeheartedly.
All right, good. Gene Jones.
Yeah, hi. This is my first meeting and kind of excited about it. I just joined Seton Hill Partners, which is a fractional CFO group of about 50 partners around the country. I think we're in maybe six or seven cities. But so really for me, just kind of learning how you guys do this and how you you know, how you market your business, and just a few other things. I mean, I do have one fairly big client right now, which kind of takes up most of my time, but you never know. These things they're pretty they come and go, right? So you always have to be kind of out there looking for your next one. And but no, this has been great. I think I'll come back. What do you think?
Yeah, come on back.
You're gonna okay, I'll come back.
All right.
Okay, well, thanks for having me.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, Mark Blackton.
Hey guys. Well, I really enjoyed it, Jeff. I appreciate the invite, and just learning what other people do and connecting with people across the country, I think is well worth it. And I'll be back.
Nice. All right, John Kunka.
Yeah, so I'm in a career transition, and one of the things I'm considering is fractional CFO work. So I'm really just here to learn from all you folks that have been doing this for a number of years and your experiences and the positives and negatives and all that. I find it very interesting.
Great. Dave Lawson.
Hey, yeah, Jeff, just want to say thanks for not only starting it, but keeping it going. So I'm 6 months into my career as a fractional CFO. So this is my permanent thing going forward. So really, I'm all ears, really just trying to grow the business, absorb some knowledge, and really, find the holy grail of creating visibility, getting referrals, business development, pulling that all together. So really any type of knowledge, I'm just kind of soaking it in right now.
Wonderful.
Dave, when you get that holy grail, let me know, Dave.
Yeah.
We'd all like to know how you got that.
I was going to use Holy Grail or the Rosetta Stone. I couldn't decide which one as I was thinking it through, but
Yeah, that's funny.
I can tell you for sure I'm not there yet. So that's for sure.
Yeah. So I was at another fractional CFO meeting with the everything is the Utah chapter, and somebody asked, he goes, I just started doing this, and how do you guys get those clients that aren't all messed up and in trouble? And it was a whole bunch of seasoned people, just like you guys are laughing now. That's basically what we did. We said, you don't, they're just not out there. They don't look for you. They don't want you. Scott Berry.
Hi, Jeff. Yeah, I'm just here to learn. I've been doing full-time work for the last 40 years, and for about 30 years, I've been trying to do consulting work also. And I'm absolutely awful at marketing. So I'm just here to absorb and learn on how you do that type of thing.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pitch Matt's other stop by my office. He's, we'll get into some marketing stuff and all that. But his is totally focused on that. So there's another way to get some more hits on that as you go along. Mike?
Thank you.
I assume that's me, huh? That's Mike Tate. It's an awful name to look at, easy name to pronounce, Tate. This is great. I'm just started getting into my consulting, and I guess I'd call my pitch more of a fractional COO. I've got equal experience in operations and finance, and really looking to meld those. Just listening to the tools that everyone's using, things like Calendly and Connected, and how you're networking is just very valuable to me. If any of you are familiar with Anagram, I'm a 5, so we're the bookworms and the ones who just store up information and hoard it. And so it's just hearing how people are breaking their ground with networking is just real encouraging. So I'm enjoying these.
Okay, so we're gonna encourage you not to hoard your information, all right?
Yeah.
You got plenty of people here to spread your information to. And we're all excited about that. By the way, all this is, I'm gonna be, I'm recording this right now, so I'll edit it down and, all that. And it'll be on my website, which is just forecasterlab.com. And there'll be a section on there. I'm gonna call it the Fractional CFO Academy. And it will have, I'm going to put everything I know on there eventually. It'll have all my references, the books I like, and I'm looking for recommendations. So the idea is, it's good to be in the beginning of this meeting, but what if you come in 5 months from now, so we can send people back to the website, to find the people from the outside. And, I probably have already lined up 25 people. For outside speakers that want to come in and talk, and some of them are in the meeting. And so that's one of the reasons I might want to do this more often. Not that you have to show up to all of them, but I just want to get these recordings going so that they're there for people. So Mark Blackton, who is in the car there, he sits on both sides. He's one of us, plus he's going to be coming in as an outside person as well. All right, so I'm going to have to jump in a little while, but I got a few minutes. Anybody else want to speak that hasn't talked? Bill.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff. Thanks. Bill Gage. I am founder of Gage Advisory Services. I'm here in Los Angeles. I'm also the co-chair of the South Bay Los Angeles chapter of the FANG. We have our meetings coming up on January 10th. It's a good day. It's my birthday, so I'll be presenting that day. And I'm going to talk specifically about networking within the FANG and beyond. This will be an interactive discussion to get people's input on using the chat with Matts, stop by my offices, learn from Latmans and so forth. Really, it's gotten to the point where if you can't network within the FANG, you're just not trying. And it takes. I've attended a lot of good virtual networking events, and I've attended a lot of, like Anna said, not so good virtual networking events. So let's get people's input on what the good ones are and how they can help leverage your career, whether you're looking for a full-time job or looking for consulting work, and specifically fractional CFO work. So January 10th, reach out to me for more information. Sign up on the website. I'll be hosting.
Yeah, Bill, what's the chapter again?
Los Angeles, South Bay. There's the Los Angeles Orange County, which typically has a Tuesday morning meeting. There's the Hollywood Santa Monica chapter, which I don't think is active at the moment. And then the South Bay region is the remaining chapter for the Los Angeles area. We will be meeting Monday the 10th at noon Pacific. We're moving from a evening meeting to a noontime meeting, and one reason is to get better engagement. At 6 o'clock in the evening Pacific, people have their cameras off and are thinking about dinner. So we want better engagement on the meeting.
Cool. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear how that goes. I run the Denver chapter as well, just for everybody here. And so the other thing is, if you want to hear me talk for an hour about myself, I'm going to be doing the presentation at the Miami meeting this Monday on the 20th. So anyway, I still have to figure out what else to put together for an hour talk. But.
Hey, Jeff, I just wanted to say thanks for taking the initiative to organize this. Marty, it's great to see you after so many years, and look forward to catching up with you next week. I think this is great because we spend a lot of time going to ACG events, FEI events, a lot of different networking events. but typically you don't see a lot of CFOs out there. I mean, most CFOs are back in the office behind the desk getting the job done. There's not a whole lot of networking groups out there where you can have direct interfacing with other CFOs. And I think that's what this forum is all about. So I welcome that. And I think that's fantastic. In terms of suggestions for future events, Jeff, maybe if we could get the voice of a CEO to come in and, hear their perspective on what they're expecting to see or would like to see from fractional CFOs or consultants or other folks that are looking to help them to build, stronger finance organizations. And so, I mean, obviously it's great to hear the CFOs and share our thoughts, but I think to get that perspective might be very helpful as well.
Yeah. So if anybody has any that they want to bring in, like their clients, so I'm bringing in one of my clients, but it's kind of a biased situation because he loves me, and so all you're going to hear about is how great a fractional CFO is, and he didn't know what he wanted when, this is one of those type that had no idea what a fractional CFO could do for him. So, it would be interesting to find somebody that, really knew what CFOs were supposed to do. And from that, brought it in from that perspective. So so by the way, anybody has anybody that they want to consider to bring in, let me know. I'll talk to them, tell me why. And, I'll have a meeting with them and, we'll figure out if it makes sense. So before we go, I just want, I want Dennis and Barb to just quickly introduce themselves. They're going to be speaking in the future. So if they could just talk real quick.
Barb, want to go first?
Yeah, go ahead,
Sure.
Dennis.
Dennis offered for me to go first, so I'm going to take that opportunity.
Ladies first, that's right.
Yes, there you go.
Thank you. Jeff, this was phenomenal. I'm really enjoying seeing these faces, some of which I've seen before, and the opportunity. Thank you. My name is Barb Easter. I am the Director of Client Success for a software company. Okay, the software company is DryRun. DryRun is financial forecasting, okay, and cash management and modeling. So it came to my attention that perhaps we should be looking into the CFO and fractional CFO domain to provide a tool. So I'm here with both my listening ears on, and these types of sessions are very valuable so that I can hear what folks like you need or want, both in terms of your relationships, your tools, networking opportunities. So thank you so much. I realize I'm probably the outlier here. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives, and I look forward to the future.
All right.
Thank you.
Dennis.
All right. Yeah, and Jeff, thanks so much for the invitation. Dennis Klaus. I'm actually a fractional VP of sales with Sales Acceleration. Some of you might be familiar with us. So I'm the sales guy crashing the party, but I'm not here to sell you anything. Really just if any of you lead groups like Jeff, who you might need a guest speaker, anything sales related, we can tailor it to whatever the audience you would find beneficial. Keep me in mind. I can do it, whether it's virtually or in person. I'm doing these types of talks for other groups like Vistage, I think it was mentioned earlier, where there's CEOs and business owners, et cetera. Also, I'm a member of Provisor. So really just, and I'm newish, about 6 months into Sales Acceleration. So like some of you, career transition after many years of success in the corporate world, but looking to keep building my business. And I will put a plug, if you do have any business owners or CEOs, small, mid-sized business owners, CEOs, who have a sales or revenue problem or opportunity that they might need help with, that's certainly something I could potentially help with. But really right now, just offering speaking services to groups. And Jeff and I had an intro call last week. We hit it off. We're very much playing in a similar space. And so Jeff, thank you. And I look forward to getting to know you better in person. And David Bizzaro and John Finnegan, great seeing you guys. Happy holidays.
All right. Jim, you want to talk? I got Jim and Matt left, I think. Oh, and Pete. Well, yeah.
Well, first of
And
all,
I have 2 minutes. I have 2 minutes. I gotta be at a company meeting, so.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you to Jeff for, I was fortunate enough to learn about this through Jeff and his leadership at the Denver chapter of the FANG for Matt and Marty. He's doing a tremendous job there. So I am a long time, well, career W-2 person looking into fractional CFO as a possibility and looking forward to learning more.
All right, Matt Hansen.
Yes, hi, everybody. Sorry, I just did something wrong. Can everybody still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm working with Jeff at my first fractional CFO assignment, and prior to July, I was steeped in the middle market as a CFO. So this is brand new to me. So I appreciate meeting everybody and continuing to meet with you. So thank you. Good learning opportunity.
All right. Matt, you're sharing your screen, by the way.
I'm sorry.
Matt works with me on a client. So he's a good friend. I've known him for, I don't know, since the 90s. So long time, early 90s. All right. So I really got to go. I'll see you guys next month.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, and take care.
Thank you. And bye, everybody.